Imagine waking up one morning and finding out that millions of dollars worth of maple syrup, not gold, not diamonds, but syrup, had been stolen. Sounds like the setup to a comedy movie, right? But this really happened in Canada, and it turned into one of the strangest heists in history. Between 2011 and 2012, thieves carried out a crime so unusual that it shocked the world. Their target? The Global Strategic Maple Syrup Reserve in Quebec, a massive warehouse where Canada stored thousands of barrels of syrup. You see, maple syrup isn't just a breakfast topping in Canada, it's liquid gold. In fact, at the time, a barrel of maple syrup was worth more than a barrel of oil. The reserve was heavily guarded, but not with lasers or high-tech security. Instead, it was just rows of barrels stacked in a quiet warehouse. And that's where the thieves saw their opportunity. Over the course of several months, they secretly siphoned syrup out of the barrels, sometimes replacing the liquid with water to avoid suspicion. By the time anyone noticed, more than 9,500 barrels were gone, worth nearly $18 million. It wasn't just a crime against a product. It was a crime against Canadian culture, against something that symbolized national pride. What started as a quiet theft in a warehouse was about to explode into one of the biggest investigations Canada had ever seen. For months, the thieves operated in silence. Truckloads of stolen syrup were smuggled out of the warehouse, sold on the black market, and distributed across Canada and even into the United States. No one suspected a thing. After all, who would imagine someone stealing maple syrup on such a massive scale? But in July 2012, the heist finally came to light. During a routine inspection at the reserve, an official climbed onto a stack of barrels. Instead of the heavy, sticky weight of syrup, the barrel shifted easily beneath him. Curious, he opened the lid, only to find it empty. More barrels were tested. Some had water instead of syrup. Others were completely drained. Panic spread. This wasn't a small theft. This was a disaster. Thousands of barrels, worth millions, were missing. The Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers, often called the OPEC of maple syrup, quickly alerted the police. For them, this wasn't just about money, it was about protecting Canada's reputation as the world's largest supplier of maple syrup. Soon, the media got hold of the story. Headlines around the world called it the Great Maple Syrup Heist. People laughed at first, but the scale of the theft stunned everyone. The stolen syrup was worth $18 million, making it one of the largest agricultural thefts in history. Investigators faced a sticky challenge. Unlike stolen jewels, syrup could easily be sold, repackaged, and consumed, leaving almost no trace. To track it down, police had to dive deep into black market deals, truck shipments, and secret buyers. The hunt for the syrup thieves had officially begun. Once news of the maple syrup heist broke, Canadian police launched one of the most unusual investigations in history. The Sûreté du Québec, Canada's provincial police, joined forces with the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers to track down the missing barrels. What they uncovered sounded more like a Hollywood movie than real life. Detectives discovered that the thieves had been siphoning syrup from the warehouse for months. They used trucks to move full barrels, then secretly replaced the syrup with water so the theft wouldn't be noticed right away. The stolen syrup was transported to makeshift warehouses, where it was repackaged and sold to unsuspecting buyers across Canada and the United States. It wasn't just a random group of criminals, this was an organized network. Truck drivers, warehouse workers, and even syrup distributors were involved. Slowly, investigators pieced the puzzle together. They tracked suspicious sales, followed delivery trucks, and even tested barrels across the country to see if the syrup inside matched the stolen batch. The breakthrough came when police discovered a hidden storage site in a town not far from the reserve. Inside, they found hundreds of barrels of syrup that matched the missing inventory. It was the evidence they needed to crack the case wide open. In December 2012, after months of surveillance, police carried out raids across Quebec. More than 25 people were arrested. Some were charged with fraud, theft, and trafficking stolen goods. Among them was Richard Vallières, a syrup dealer accused of being the ringleader behind the operation. The arrests shocked the community. Maple syrup wasn't just food, it was part of Canada's identity. To steal it on such a scale was like stealing a piece of the country's culture itself. The trial that followed was unlike anything Canada had ever seen. Newspapers called it the sweetest crime in history. The courtroom was packed with reporters, curious citizens, and maple syrup producers who had lost millions in the heist. Richard Vallières, accused of masterminding the operation, claimed he was only a middleman. He admitted to trafficking the syrup but argued he was forced into it by dangerous people. Still, the evidence was overwhelming. Stolen barrels, secret warehouses, and paper trails connecting him directly to the crime. In 2017, after years of hearings and testimony, Vallières was found guilty of fraud, trafficking, and theft. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison and ordered to pay back over 9 million Canadian dollars. Several of his accomplices were also convicted, though some received lighter sentences for cooperating with authorities. The Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers tightened security after the heist. Today, their reserve is monitored with cameras, guards, and stricter checks to make sure no one can repeat the crime. But the story didn't end there. The maple syrup heist captured the world's imagination. It inspired documentaries, podcasts, and even jokes on late-night television. People couldn't believe that syrup, something most people pour on pancakes, was valuable enough to spark one of the largest food thefts in history. For Canada, the case was a reminder that maple syrup is more than a breakfast topping. It's a national treasure worth protecting. And while the thieves tried to profit from it, their actions only proved how valuable this golden liquid really is. The Great Maple Syrup Heist remains a legend, a bizarre, almost unbelievable story of greed, crime, and one of the sweetest robberies the world has ever seen.